Cold water crashed over my head. I choked, thrashing, until a wave hurled me onto the shore. Sand tore at my skin, my lungs burned, and around me others were already crawling out of the sea. I looked at their faces, and my heart froze. It was them. The very traitors who had once destroyed my life. Then a voice boomed from hidden speakers. Welcome to the island of traitors. Rule number 1, only one survives. My fists clenched. They thought this was just a game. But in truth they had stepped into my revenge. The beach stretched wide, hemmed in by thick jungle. Waves pounded behind us, and in the distance, black cliffs loomed like jagged teeth. There was no escape. Dozens of us stood there, dripping wet, clothes plastered to our skin. Some were strangers, eyes darting like cornered animals. But others I recognized instantly. Mark, Sarah, Ethan. People I had once called friends. People who had betrayed me when I needed them most. They laughed as my life fell apart, cut ties, whispered lies. And now here they were, coughing up seawater, looking just as lost as I had once felt. A long table jutted out of the sand nearby. On it, wooden crates with numbers painted in red. The loudspeaker crackled again. Your first challenge begins now. Choose a crate. What's inside will decide if you live or die. People hesitated, glancing at each other. Then chaos erupted. Men and women scrambled for the crates, clawing at the lids, shouting. I moved slower, watching. This wasn't about speed. It was about survival. Mark wrenched open his crate. Inside, a machete gleamed. His eyes lit up. Sarah tore hers open, rope and a flint striker. Ethan, only a single bottle of water. His face twisted in rage. Finally, I reached mine. My hands shook as I pried it open. Inside lay a hunting knife and a strip of black cloth. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The loudspeaker boomed again. You have 1 hour. Gather what you can. When the horn sounds, the hunt begins. The words settled like poison in my veins. Hunt. This wasn't just survival, it was a death match. People scattered, clutching their prizes. Some bolted for the jungle. Others huddled together, whispering alliances. I tied the black cloth around my arm, a reminder. Not just to survive. To strike back. The jungle swallowed me whole. Heat pressed down, insects droned, and every shadow seemed alive. I kept the knife tight in my grip, ears straining. I wasn't alone. Branches snapped behind me. I turned. Mark stepped into view, machete gleaming. Well, he sneered. Looks like fate threw us together again. I said nothing, eyes locked on his weapon. He smirked. Don't look so scared. I'm not gonna kill you, yet. Not if you're useful. Stick with me and maybe we both make it to the end. His voice dripped with arrogance, the same tone he used when he ruined me. I forced a smile. Sure, Mark. Let's survive, together. But inside, fire burned. I would bide my time. Play along. And when the moment came, I'd end him. We moved deeper into the jungle. The canopy darkened, air thick with humidity. Every sound made us twitch, the rustle of leaves, distant cries of birds. Hours blurred. We found a stream, refilled bottles, gathered fruit. Mark strutted ahead, waving his machete like a king. I followed, silent, calculating. Then, in a clearing, we found others. Sarah crouched by a fire, rope strung into a makeshift trap. Ethan lurked nearby, face twisted with suspicion. When they saw us, tension snapped. Sarah rose, hands raised. Truce, she said quickly. We need numbers. 4 of us. We can outlast the rest. Mark grinned. Now we're talking. I stayed quiet, though my blood boiled. These were the same people who abandoned me, who laughed while I sank. Now they wanted trust? Fine. I'd give them trust. Right up until I ripped it away. Night fell fast. The jungle came alive with shrieks and howls. We huddled near the fire, eyes darting into the darkness. The loudspeaker crackled again, voice cold and amused. The hunt begins. A horn blared. My heart pounded. Somewhere screams ripped through the night. Our little alliance stiffened. Every one of us knew, before long we'd turn on each other. And I was ready. That night, as the others drifted into uneasy sleep, I stayed awake, knife in hand. I watched them, their faces lit by dying firelight. Mark, arrogant even in slumber. Sarah, clutching the rope like it would save her. Ethan, muttering in restless dreams. One by one they would fall. Not just because of the island. Not just because of the rules. Because of me. This was no accident. No punishment from fate. This was my chance. My island. My revenge. The jungle did not sleep. Even as the others snored beside the fire, creatures whispered in the darkness. Branches cracked, insects hissed, and somewhere far off, someone screamed. I stayed awake, knife in hand, staring at the traitors around me. Mark, Sarah, Ethan. They trusted me enough to rest. Fools. They didn't know that every breath they took was already borrowed. I wasn't rushing. Revenge wasn't about speed, it was about precision. At dawn, the horn sounded again. The loudspeaker's cruel voice echoed through the canopy. Day 2. Survival is earned, not given. Today's test, betrayal will be rewarded. The word sent shivers through the camp. We looked at one another, suspicion sharpening like blades. Mark sneered. Guess the game wants us to do what we're already good at. Sarah muttered, we should stick together. But Ethan's eyes narrowed. Or maybe that's exactly what they want us to think. I said nothing. Let the seeds of paranoia grow. They would do my work for me. We set out together, moving deeper into the jungle. The air grew hotter, thicker, as if the island itself wanted to crush us. Soon we stumbled upon another group, 2 strangers we hadn't seen before. Their clothes were torn, eyes wild with desperation. Mark stepped forward, machete raised. Supplies. Now. One of the strangers, a tall man with bleeding hands, shook his head. We barely have anything. Please, just let us go. I watched Mark's grin widen. This was the same grin he wore years ago when he crushed my chances at a future, just because it amused him. Not my problem, Mark said. And before anyone could react, he swung. The machete split the air, and the stranger fell. His scream was swallowed by the jungle. The second one bolted, vanishing into the trees. Sarah gasped, horrified. Ethan cursed. But Mark just wiped the blade clean. One less competitor. You're welcome. I clenched my knife, every muscle screaming to end him then and there. But not yet. Not like this. He needed to fall harder. That night, while the others slept, I set my plan in motion. I crept into the trees, careful not to snap a branch, and used Sarah's rope, which she had foolishly left beside the fire. I strung it across a narrow path, sharpening stakes from branches and planting them into the earth below. A trap. Simple. Deadly. When I returned, Sarah stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. What are you doing? She whispered. I froze. But instead of panicking, I leaned closer, voice low. Ethan was watching you. He thinks you're hiding something. If he turns on you, you'll need protection. I was setting up a trap, for him? Her face paled. She looked toward Ethan's sleeping form, suspicion flaring in her gaze. Then she nodded slowly. Keep it between us. Perfect. One lie was all it took to fracture the ground beneath them. The next morning, tension poisoned the air. Ethan glared at Sarah, who avoided his eyes. Mark strutted ahead, oblivious, or maybe just arrogant enough not to care. We walked until Mark, distracted by his boasting, stumbled straight into the trap. The rope snapped his legs out from under him. He crashed forward, inches from the sharpened stakes. His machete flew from his hand. He scrambled back, furious. Who the hell did this? Ethan's gaze shot to Sarah. You. Sarah raised her hands, panicked. No. It wasn't me. Mark roared, grabbing her by the arm. Tell me the truth. She cried out, swearing, but Ethan lunged forward, shoving Mark back. The two of them clashed, fists flying, rage spilling like blood. I stood there, silent, watching my plan unfold. They didn't see me smile. By evening, Sarah was bruised, Ethan's lips split, and Mark stalked like a cornered animal, muttering curses. Their trust was gone. Every glance was suspicion, every word a blade. And I was the quiet shadow between them. The one none of them realized was pulling the strings. On the third night, the loudspeaker's voice cut through the air once more. Eliminate one and food will be granted. The firelight flickered across their faces as the message sank in. Hunger gnawed at all of us. Supplies were nearly gone. Mark's eyes burned. One of you dies tonight. Sarah gripped her rope like a lifeline. It doesn't have to be this way. Ethan growled. Stop pretending. You'd slit my throat the moment I turn around. The circle tightened, their breaths ragged, sweat dripping. I kept my knife hidden, watching, waiting. This was it. The moment I had been shaping. Mark lunged first, straight at Ethan. But Ethan was ready, tackling him to the ground. They rolled in the dirt, snarling like beasts. Sarah screamed, rushing to stop them. And that was when I struck. Silent as a shadow, I slipped behind her. The knife flashed once. She gasped, eyes wide, then crumpled into the firelight. Mark and Ethan froze, panting, staring at her lifeless body. I stood above her, blade dripping, face calm. She was going to kill us all, I said coldly. I saved you. Their eyes flickered between me and the body. Doubt. Fear. But also, a twisted kind of trust. Because I had done what they couldn't. Because I had crossed the line first. That night we ate. The loudspeaker's promise was fulfilled. Food appeared in a crate by the fire. Mark tore into it like an animal, Ethan too, both too exhausted to question anything. And as they devoured the prize, I sat back, silent, watching them destroy themselves piece by piece. The island wasn't just killing them. The island was quieter now. Fewer voices. Fewer lives. But in the silence, the screams of the past echoed louder than ever. The laughs in the classroom when I failed. The whispers when I was shoved to the floor. The betrayal of people who had called themselves my friends. And now only two remained. Mark and Ethan. The horn blared again at dawn. Final test. Only one survives. Prove yourself. Mark grinned, baring his teeth like a wolf. Finally. No more games. No more hiding. Ethan's face was pale, lips cracked from thirst. We don't have to do this. Maybe it's a trick. But I knew better. The island wasn't a trick. It was a crucible burning away every mask, every excuse, until only the raw truth remained. And the truth was simple. None of them deserved to leave. We moved through the jungle, each step heavier than the last. Hunger gnawed at our stomachs, but fear was worse. Fear hung in the air, thick as smoke. Mark stalked ahead, machete still stained with blood from the stranger he had killed. Ethan trailed behind, darting glances at me as if he could sense something coiled in my silence. The trail opened into a clearing. At its center, a table stood, covered in cards. A deck. A game. The loudspeaker crackled again. Play. Winner lives. Mark laughed, tossing his machete aside. Cards? Seriously? After all this? Perfect. He sat, shuffling with the ease of someone who had gambled his way through life and loved the thrill of it. Ethan hesitated. This is insane. But I sat too across from Mark, eyes locked on his. No. This is perfect. We played. The cards slapped the wood, hands shaking, sweat dripping. Every draw was a heartbeat, every reveal a gasp. Mark smirked with every good hand, cursing at the bad ones. Ethan trembled, losing steadily, his pile shrinking fast. But me? I never flinched. Because this table wasn't about luck. It was about justice. After hours, minutes, seconds, time blurred. Ethan finally stood with nothing left. His face crumpled. Please? I don't want to die. Mark sneered. Then don't lose. And with a laugh, he shoved Ethan from the table. The jungle swallowed Ethan's scream as Mark turned back to me, eyes alight with hunger. Just us now. Like it was always meant to be. We played the last hand. He dealt, grinning. I watched every flick of his wrist, every twitch of his eye. When the cards fell, his grin widened. Full house. He slammed the cards down, triumphant. Your move. Slowly, deliberately, I laid mine down. Royal flush. The highest hand. The unbeatable one. Mark froze. His smirk faltered, eyes flicking between his cards and mine. No, you couldn't. I leaned forward, voice low. Do you remember the day you laughed when they shoved my head into the toilet? The day you told me I'd never be anything but a joke? The day you stole my project, my future, my life? His face twisted. That was years ago. Not for me, I whispered. For me it was yesterday. For me it never ended. Until now. The loudspeaker blared. Winner, declared. Mark, eliminated. The ground beneath him split open. Mark screamed as the earth swallowed him whole, his hands clawing at the table at me, desperate. I didn't move. I just watched. Until the jungle silenced him forever. The table vanished. The clearing emptied, leaving only me standing in the ruins of their lives. The loudspeaker's voice returned one last time. Congratulations. You have survived. You are free. A helicopter appeared above the trees, lowering a rope ladder. I climbed step by step, leaving behind the bodies, the screams, the blood-soaked soil. As the blades thundered overhead and the island shrank below, I looked down one final time. At the jungle that had been my prison. At the arena that had become my weapon. And I smiled. Because I hadn't just survived. I had won. I had taken everything they did to me, and turned it back on them. This wasn't just survival. This was revenge.